Cool.
All right. We're recording, bro.
Do the intro like you normally do.
I remember you was gonna do it because that's what
Well, no, you got to do the whole thing, man. You got to do the whole thing.
All right. Well, once again, welcome to another episode of the Real Spill Sports Podcast. I am your host, Big Nate, with my co-host, Coach Taylor. Coach Taylor, we have a guest today. You want to introduce our guest today?
Yes, this is my guy, Adrian Broaddus from 600 ESPN El Paso, the on-air host. He's a great person. He's very knowledgeable, and he's in the sports world, and he's actively every day talking about sports and bringing perspective to life from the great state of Texas. How you doing today, Adrian?
Hey, Coach Taylor. What's up, Big Nate? Thank you so much for inviting me on the podcast. I really appreciate the invite and excited to talk some hoops. It's March, guys. I'm pretty fired up.
Good.
It is March, and it is hoops time, but we are going to start off NFL. Free agency is upon us. It is happening right now. Been a lot of trades, a lot of guys still on the free agency market. You being in Texas, we just had Randy Gregory renege on his deal with the Cowboys and is now joining the Denver Broncos. What's the word in Texas around that right now?
Yeah, I guess the disappointment is very much loud and prevalent by Cowboy fans right now, Big Nate. And it's a great question right now because I think a lot of Cowboy fans grew attachment to Gregory, to this defensive line. And I know that there were some holes on in the defense for the Cowboys last year, but man, they showed tremendous progress from where they were just 2 years ago. So I think a lot of Cowboy fans just thought, as long as they run it back, let them run it back. Let them show what they could do with Dan Quinn in year 2. The fact that they kept him, they didn't lose him to another head coaching job. I just like, I think that they're distraught with this news right here. And for the Broncos, man, they just keep reloading left and right. I guess it's the Russell Wilson effect right now, right, guys?
Yeah. And I figured it would be, considering all the struggles that he had early in his career, and they invested so much time and stuck with him, that he would just kind of be loyal to them for them, because he really probably could have been out of the league had they given up on him, and then they stayed with him and he came around. And I just thought that was really, really something that he would just bolt like that, especially for the same deal. Like it was, I can understand maybe it was more money, but it was the same deal that he accepted.
Yeah, it's pretty confusing right now. What I'm seeing on my end is that it went all the way to the deadline. This is from ESPN's Ed Werder, and he's usually pretty close when it comes to things around the Cowboys. He was talking about how the Broncos were flirting with 2 real good defensive linemen between Gregory and then Chandler Jones. They were close to a deal last night. Then here's the big caveat on all this. Owner Jerry Jones, who's been kind of in the dark right now. This has been a weird offseason for Jerry Jones, mixed with all the different off the field incidents that you've seen. The lawsuit that's going on right now behind closed doors between him and a long lost daughter of his. Jerry Jones recruited Randy Gregory to come back. The Cowboys attempted to change the contract after the agreement. How about that? So that's when the Broncos became the obvious choice. Cowboys kind of just flip-flopping, saying, all right, no, we'll pay you. We want you to be our guy, but we're just going to pay you a little bit less. And that's the reason why, the Broncos, I think Randy Gregory probably felt, this is the most trustworthy type of contract I'm going to get in this free agency period.
Okay. That sounds like, what did you think of the Amari Cooper trade and that whole ordeal? Because I felt Amari Cooper was pivotal to Dak Prescott being what we've seen Dak Prescott be.
Yeah, it's a great question. I feel like with Amari Cooper, there has to be more to the story, right? I mean, he was such a standout wide receiver for the Cowboys. Whenever he was in the lineup and he was actually playing for the Cowboys, it seemed like good things would happen. Whenever he would score a touchdown, it's kind of I don't have any stats to back this up, but it felt like anytime he scored, the Cowboys usually had success in that game, or their offense was gelling. But there has to be more to this story. There was some rumors about a halftime disagreement between Amari Cooper and Dak Prescott. I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if that's true or not, but I do buy the fact that they're going to be selling on, or they're going to be sticking with CeeDee Lamb and selling high on him as far as making him an integral part of their offense next year. And I get that. Like, if you want to make CeeDee Lamb your guy, sure, that's fine. But this all goes back to the Ezekiel Elliott big contract that he received a couple years ago. If you're going to pay Zeke that kind of money, you're going to have to be willing to depart from guys like Amari Cooper, guys like Cedric Wilson, who ends up signing with the Miami Dolphins. And I don't know, maybe you rebuild it through the draft, or you try to get some guys through free agency on lower deals. But I don't really know. I don't know what to make of this deal. I wonder how Amari's fit will be in Cleveland. I wonder who's going to be the signal caller there just to begin with. If it's Baker Mayfield or the quarterback who's not named yet, or what Amari is going to do in the rest of his career. I mean, on one end, you could say, yeah, he's not the greatest teammate, and maybe his stats have dipped a little bit. That's why the Raiders were willing to move on from him. But at the other end, I mean, gosh, he was a fan favorite. A lot of people had Amari Cooper jerseys. They liked him a lot. And I'm curious to see what the wide receivers look like with the Cowboys in 2022.
You think CeeDee Lamb's ready to be a number one guy?
I don't know. I think the value for a slot receiver has changed. And when you just think about the value for slot corners, then you probably think, okay, well, if you've got a slot receiver like CeeDee Lamb, who is the standout guy in that position, maybe you try to build a kind of Deebo Samuel type of offense around him, where you give him handoffs in the backfield, you make him like a primary candidate on every single possession. And I think that's what you saw in games last year. CeeDee Lamb would almost disappear, and it wasn't really, I guess maybe you could attribute that to the defense, but I felt like they just didn't think of innovative ways to get him involved in certain games. And I don't know if that's giving Dak too much of the offense or too much of the reins of the offense, or not catering more plays around CeeDee Lamb. But you still need that number one target. You still need that deep ball catch, that guy who's going to catch the deep ball for you. CeeDee Lamb is going to be a perfect slot receiver for them.
What do you now, Coach Taylor a month ago called this, and he said that Deshaun Watson would be cleared because it was taking way too long for them to find something. Him being in, the Texans in Houston, where do you predict he ends up?
This is an interesting one to follow. I mean, as soon as you heard the news on Friday that he wasn't facing those criminal charges, and they were just going to kind of move on, a lot of questions started going through my mind. Number one, I was wondering, does the NFL still decide to suspend him for violating league rules? That could be the case. He could still be suspended. I don't know. I don't even know. I don't know what to make of the number of games he could miss or anything like that. But that's hovering around all of this. That's atop this list of, hey, what's going on right here with Deshaun Watson? Now, a couple suitors that came up right away. It's the Panthers and it's the Saints. Now, the Panthers, it's a desperation move. It's to try to keep Matt Rule in place as the head coach. No one likes him as far as their fan base. No one likes Matt Rule. They wanted the franchise, the organization, to move on from him last year. They decided to bring him back this year. And they did that so he could come out and get a quarterback for this team. Now, there's an argument on the Panthers side. Now, just get Malik Willis right now. Run it back to Sam Darnold. Have him be the quarterback. Fire Matt Rule in the offseason and have Malik Willis as your quarterback for the future. The Saints are an interesting suitor right now for Deshaun Watson. However, I don't know if talks have really progressed. My biggest question is, what's Deshaun Watson's relationship like with their new head coach? How does he view their offense? I mean, really, it's just Alvin Kamara, because it looks like there's really no timetable on Michael Thomas's return to the team. It looks like they might be dealing him instead of actually keeping him. And then I look at two sneaky candidates that actually popped up today. Number one being the Cleveland Browns. Now, the there's three actually. If you want to, be technical about this and throw Indianapolis in the mix, they were shot down right away. There's no way the Texans would trade him inside their same division. But you look at what Deshaun Watson could bring to the table for a team like Cleveland. Like they maybe move on from Baker Mayfield. They go with Deshaun Watson. Maybe they center around a trade package around Baker Mayfield plus whoever, send him off to Houston with a lot of draft compensation, and in return get Deshaun Watson back. The other big name that dropped today was the Atlanta Falcons, which I did not see coming, but it makes a lot of sense. If I had to make a guess right now, just in terms of what makes the most sense, the Falcons kind of do. It's in his backyard. He loves Atlanta. He played football at Clemson. He won a national championship over there. I've always kind of thought, Deshaun Watson in Atlanta just makes a lot of sense, but he's very familiar with that Atlanta area. He loves it. So that team does have some dudes on the field. I mean, they've got Kyle Pitts, who I really like, and maybe there's some pieces that you can build around with their new head coach, Arthur Smith, and maybe they decide to take a chance on him. I don't know. This is an interesting one right here, guys.
Coach Taylor, now I heard he's also been linked to Seattle. Have you heard anything out that way as far as him with the Seahawks?
Yeah, so the Seahawks actually came out and shot it down. They said that they're not going to join that sweepstakes. It's just too risky for them, and that they feel like their next move, obviously from moving on from Wilson, needs to be a solid, move with less propaganda, less, gray area. It needs to be like fluid and just flow naturally. And so they actually shot it down right away. And speaking of that, I actually think that Atlanta will have to do the same thing. I don't think Atlanta could take him after what Calvin Ridley just did. I don't think they could do that. I just think that's too much gray area, too much speculation. You know what I mean? And I don't think they could do that. I know they want to, because they see that obviously the Saints and Carolina, which are in their division, are making a hard run. But I don't think that where they are, they could do that. Let's not forget that, and I hate to bring this up, but this is what the podcast is for. The Falcons had Michael Vick and what he went through. I just don't think they could, with Calvin Ridley's situation. Now you got to add Deshaun Watson. I just think at some point you start, unfortunately, you know what happens in the NFL? When you start getting blackballed by other owners and you start getting a label, that's what people think of you. And NFL owners are nothing more than the high school girls' popularity contest. They care so much about how they're viewed amongst their peers that it actually affects their dollars. It affects their revenue streams. It affects what type of sponsorships they're able to get. And I just think that the Falcons have not fully recovered from the Mike Vick situation because they haven't been able to put out a consistent winning product, right? Because winning does cure all. That now you add in Calvin Ridley's craziness from a week ago, and now you're going to jump in the pool of Deshaun Watson stuff. And hey, Deshaun Watson was not criminally charged or anything. I completely get that. I'm not, coming down on the man. I'm just saying sometimes when there's too much smoke in the room, you have to evacuate. That's all I'm saying. And I think that the Falcons cannot afford to put this on Arthur Blank's desk. I just don't think they can.
I feel that
their defense is horrible. So I don't know why he'd want to go there. Their defense is actually atrocious.
Yeah,
like he would have to score 50 points a game to win games there.
Yeah, I think from a football fit, I like New Orleans because I think if he goes to New Orleans, like that's, especially if you can get, whatever you're going to do with Thomas there, but they have so many weapons and the defense is actually straight. I think that would give them, I think they could contend with Tampa in that division, given he doesn't miss a lot of time. Like I said, we don't know if he's going to be suspended or what's going to happen, but say, he doesn't miss any time and he can come in. I think he can come in right away. And you have him and Alvin Kamara and those weapons they have there, they were decent with Jameis, So
I'd like to throw this out there, and I've spoken amongst peers about this. No one's talking about this, but I actually think in his situation that he will get some type of suspension. I think he should serve it humbly. I actually think he should go to the Buccaneers and sit behind Brady for a year and be a part of that, restore his image, and then as soon as Brady leaves the next year, because Brady's only got one more year left in him, then he should just step right in, image will be restored, and he should just hit the ground running and tear that division apart. I actually think that would be in his best interest, because here's why. No matter where he goes next year, I just think the amount of backlash he's going to face in this Me Too movement is going to be so crazy that every time he throws a pick, every time he has any type of adversity on the field, it is not on the field. I just think, man, like he would have to be perfect, and he's not. Like, he's a football player. He's not going to be, right? Like, we saw Jameis Winston in Tampa throw 30 touchdowns and do 30 picks. You know what I mean? Like, he's no way he can be perfect. And I just think that going to I would trust him more with New Orleans if Peyton was still there, but Peyton's not there, and I don't know this new guy. And so I wouldn't want to jump in that pool in New Orleans, right? I wouldn't want to do that. Not without Peyton. If Peyton was there, or he could do this, which I think also makes a lot of sense. He could just stay with the Falcons for a year, knowing that they're going to fire McCarthy in Dallas next year, hire Peyton, and then just go to the Cowboys. Just go to the. It's a win-win for Houston. It's a win-win for Houston because they get Dak, and it's a win-win for the Cowboys. They get the quarterback they've always looked for. They get Peyton and the coach they've always looked for. Like, he doesn't have to rush back. Let's not forget he missed an entire year of football, so he is not going to be himself right away anyway. It's still going to take him probably 4 or 5 games to get back in that groove. You look at all the quarterbacks who missed a year with injury, and you talk about a guy who missed it just from sitting out and not taking reps and snaps, he's not going to be himself anyway for that first year, no matter where he goes. So he's not going to be able to save Matt Rule's job in Carolina, especially when they're probably going to have to give up Christian McCaffrey to get him. So now you go from having a run game to having no run game to having a quarterback that's set out a year. I just don't think there's a situation that next year he walks into and wins 10 games and gets to the playoffs. I just don't think there's any situation that does that. So he should really take his time and be really calculated in his move.
Could you all? Can I throw out another one? A crazy
Please.
one? How about this one? All right. What about a 1-for-1? Deshaun Watson for Kyler Murray.
I knew you were
He's
gonna
all
say
disgruntled out there.
I knew you were going to say
he's
that.
disgruntled with Arizona.
He is.
Why not bring Kyler home? Build the team around him and the Texans. Give him all the freedom he wants. Let him run that team the way he wants. If he wants to run it like a petty Texas kid who's coming from the metro, the metro area, the DFW area, why not? Let him run it. Let him do it. And let's see how far he can get with the Texans.
I like that. And I actually said this to Big Nate.
Teams out there. Hell, I'm a Bears fan. I'll give you Justin Fields. You take Justin Fields in one of these picks and bring him home where he should have been in the first place.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But that's I guess I never broadened it to that many different, because he has a no trade clause. So anywhere he goes, he has
to waive it, right?
He has to agree to it. And then I'm sure he's making a monumentous amount of money as well too. So then that has to wait who can take that money. So Tom's not going to take no pay cut too drastic where he can fit him in there.
Really? I think Tom would. I think Tom is in that LeBron stage.
That's part of the reason Tom came back, because he's going to get $40 million to play.
I know he will get that. But what I'm saying is, let me say one thing. Nobody restores your image more than Tom Brady. If Tom Brady says this guy's going to stay in my house a year, I'm going to keep him out of trouble. He's a good guy. I'll vouch for him. He's around my kids. Guess what? The NFL, America loves you again. It loves you again. The Antonio thing backfired in year 2. Tom should have made that a 1-year situation. You know, he also wasn't living with Tom this second year, because Tom was like, okay, you're like a young kid. You're ready to leave the house, ready to leave the nest. Tom should have kept his ass close 1 more year. Antonio would still be on that team. No issues, right? I'm just saying.
To wrap up the NFL, which free agent signings so far do you feel is the most impactful?
All right, this is a good one. I like this one. I prepped for this one yesterday. I was doing some free agency talk on the show. You know what? I'm gonna go with this one. I think. You got to go with Tom Brady. I mean, it's Brady, because the Bucks were going to be a rudderless franchise without him. They had all these guys on expiring deals who are set to hit free agency this year and maybe get paid, maybe not. But you're really telling me Kyle Trask and Blaine Gabbert were the decisions? No. I mean, when we're talking free agency right now, it's Tom Brady's year-to-year free agency. That's the biggest winner. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to try to keep them any sort of a contender right now. That's the biggest thing. Today they got Russell Gage. It's a big acquisition for them as far as just trying to bolster their depth and their wide receiver core. Tom Brady, for me, it's hands down. There's not really, you can look at some other under the radar signings. I like the fact, or I will like anybody who ends up taking Jarvis Landry. I did not like the Steelers getting Mitch Trubisky. Big Nate, you should know that as a Bear fan. That's a real bad decision right there. I actually thought that the Chargers getting J.C. Jackson might be the best one, if you really want to talk to me about contenders, because look at what the Chargers did defensively. Khalil Mack, sorry, Big Nate. You got Derwin James running it back this year. You got Joey Bosa, one of the best pass rushers in the game right now. And on top of all that, you're getting the best shutdown corner, arguably, in the NFL with J.C. Jackson, not named Jalen Ramsey. I mean, come on, man. This guy is a beast. And Brandon Staley taking a page out of his mentor in Sean McVay, going for it all, winning now and doing it for free agency. Yep.
Yeah. I did like the Bengals addressing the offensive line, like where if they could get that right and add a couple more pieces to that offensive line and the way they look, like that could be something right there. I did like that. I also like for your Lions, Cole. I like Chark. That's who I was hoping the Bears would get. I like DJ Chark. Like, I think when he's healthy and he has a shot, he could be a really good wide receiver. He's big, he's fast, he gets down the field. I like DJ Chark, man. That might be somebody you might be like,
listen,
whatever,
man.
but I like
the Lions have no quarterback, they have no defense, they have no future. Okay, so it doesn't matter.
What do you mean? Todd Boyle.
Come on, stop.
Tim Boyle. I couldn't even get his name right.
Exactly. That's how good their quarterback room is. You don't even know the damn guy's name. Like, I love the Lions with my heart and soul. I get why they did the Stafford trade, but that's a team that should be all in on Deshaun Watson. I said that 2 weeks ago. They should have been on Deshaun Watson before he went to the grand jury, telling Houston, hey, we'll take him now without knowing what's going to happen, so we get a better of a discount. You know what I mean? They have nothing to lose at this point, because you're not going to, as you see with Jared Goff, you're going to win 2 games, 3 games a year. Congratulations with that.
All right. NBA, last night, Cat dropped 60 points, 32 points in the third quarter. Coach Taylor has said recently, Adrian, I want your take on this, that he says he would take a healthy Cat over a healthy Anthony Davis.
Oh, man.
100%.
Oh, man. This is an interesting one.
What do you think about that? Because I told him he's nuts. Because Cat is nowhere near on defense when Anthony Davis is healthy, like Anthony Davis is on defense. That's a defensive player of the year candidate every year he plays when he's healthy. So I told him before you answer, Adrian. He thinks he would take Cat over AD.
Let me say one thing before you answer, Adrian. I'll let you go. Doesn't matter what he is on defense. Doesn't matter what Anthony Davis is on defense. You know why? Because when you run into the Joker, ain't neither one of them stopping that boy. So it don't even matter what they are on defense, because as soon as you run into the Joker in the West, it goes out the window anyway. So you might as well take the player that's going to be most consistent. And I'm sorry, but your availability is your best ability. So Anthony Davis could be healthy right now, and he could look great, but we all know it's only a matter of time before we're holding our breath and he goes down. I mean, the man fell off the damn operating table. Give me a break. He's just a walking injury. Go ahead, Adrian.
Yeah, it's becoming difficult right now to defend Anthony Davis. And I'm saying this as somebody who probably called him a top 5 guy when he's healthy. And he just has that kind of talent. Like, he's such a gifted big man. Whenever you watch him shoot that mid-range jumper where his shooting arc is going higher than the ceiling, that's just one of those things where I'm just like, dude, this guy's possessed right now. Like, this guy but he hasn't shown it. Even when he was healthy this year, he wasn't at his not at his best, his best position with the Lakers. And yeah, he helped bring a championship to the Lakers, which shouldn't go overlooked. But you're telling me that Karl Anthony Towns couldn't have done the same at that point. I've grown a little frustrated when it comes to Anthony Davis. I don't want to give you a non-answer. I probably will still side with Davis, just purely thinking about the future and thinking maybe if they just get one healthy year of Davis, it's still worth it more than what Karl Anthony Towns could bring. Also with Cat, he's one of the best shooting centers that you'll ever see. I'm with you on that, Ronnie. When you're going up against a Joker, no one's stopping him. When you're up against Embiid, no one's stopping him. I mean, right. Those two right there are elite big men, and those are the two I would take over anybody right now as far as centers go. Now, Cat, I don't know if I'm ready to call him number 3 just yet. Behind those two, I think that AD healthy is still number 3 behind those two. But the big thing, and I'm with you, I subscribe to that notion too. The best availability is just being available. Come on.
Right.
Can we get him some, can we get him a cryo chamber, or can we get him out there with, with the hyperbaric chamber or something like that? Can he have that in his house? What's going on with the recovery with Anthony Davis?
Yeah. I think he's looked too heavy this year, personally. I think he was at his best when he was a little lighter, like how you seen him in New Orleans. I think he needs to slim down a little bit and get back lighter. I think, like he said, he doesn't like playing center, but that's what he's got to do. That's what the NBA is now. He's a center. Speaking of that, the Lakers lost again last night. LeBron showed visible frustration last night. He even had the play where did you see that play where he took the ball and slammed it on Scotty Barnes?
Yeah.
Like
That's the one that circulated Twitter for sure.
Yeah.
But the one that did not, that I thought was maybe a little bit worse, it was really early in the game. I mean, it was when it was like 21-2. And Taylor Gabriel just made a horrible play on defense. And then LeBron is like spiking the basketball like 5 times in a row. And he just looks at Gabriel. Gabriel's not even looking at him. He's looking the other way like, oh, don't look at me, Bron. I get it. I know it. They're all they can't play. It's over. Let's shut the season down. They can't play. They're looking over their shoulder constantly, wondering if A, Vogel's going to be fired, or B, Bron is going to fire them and trade them in the offseason. So this is a disaster of a season.
How would you fix the Lakers moving forward if you were what's the GM's name? I'm
Rob Pelinka.
Rob Pelinka. You're Rob Pelinka. What would be your approach to fixing the Lakers?
Pray that somebody will take Russ, because anybody is better than Russ. I mean, and that's not going to happen. I mean, no one's who in the right mind would decide to trade for Russ. I mean, Houston with John Wall. I mean, come on. This shouldn't have been done in the offseason. They should have went with plan A, which was DeRozan. They should have went with plan B, which was Buddy Hield and whatever package that was with Sacramento. But instead, they wanted Russ. They brought him to his home, and he just hasn't panned out. I mean, Russ has been awful for them week after week. Every time you watch him, he's a 0 on defense. Anybody can get by him. It's not your A-list point guards. It's anybody. It's the guy off the bench who can get past Russ right now, because he simply can't defend. And it's frustrating to watch if you're a Laker fan. If you're a basketball fan, just trying to watch good LeBron basketball, forget it. Just watch last year's highlights or watch the year before, because you're not going to find it this year. LeBron is still playing at a real elite level. And maybe you explore a trade with Anthony Davis. That will never happen because of the clutch connection right there. Everybody wants to jump and say, oh, LeBron's done. He's done in LA. Is he really? Like, does he really want to miss his son's senior year of high school at Sierra Canyon? Does he really want to leave LA to go to another team? I don't know if that would actually happen, but the Lakers have a short window, and it's going to happen in June or July. That's when their season will start for next year.
Yeah, I agree. We mentioned them earlier. Jokic and Embiid, they played each other last night. Embiid got the dub. Not Embiid, but Joker got the dub. Who would you have as your MVP right now? Because I think it's between those two.
Yeah, I would still go with Embiid. I know that Jokic fills up the stat sheet. I don't even think he's doing it without anybody on his team. Right. I just really like what Embiid has done this year on the defensive standpoint. I also don't think that Philly is that great. Like, as everybody's talking about how their roster really is, I don't think they have that great of a roster. If you look at their bench, they're really not that deep. James Harden, fine. I mean, he's hopefully, for Philly's sake, he pans out in this trade. If not, it's going to be a real expensive headache, and they might have to deal with what LA has to deal with. But he has to be successful this year. And you also have to think with MVP voting, it's not all about who's having the better season. It's not all about that kind of stuff. It's also about the narrative. And I think the narrative is almost there for Embiid. Kind of the process is over now. This is his team. The narrative could be there. It's just kind of this last month to see who's really going to take it. I'll be honest with you. I think Joker got a little bit of an advantage last night after that victory. And if he ends up being the MVP, I'm not going to, be up in arms. If you're ready to have a solidified MVP right now, I think that's a mistake too, because we still need to see more from both these guys. And I think it's going to be, who ends up crossing the finish line last between these two.
Coach Taylor, who you like?
I would give it to Embiid because of what he had to deal with this season. You know, his co-star pretty much quit on the team last July. There was all this mystery of when and if they were and who they were going to go get and when they were going to go get them. And he just went out there and he stayed healthy, right? And then he just played. He just balled out. And I do think he'll get it. And here's why. Last night was a clear indication that he has the worst playoff coach in history in Doc Rivers, a guy I do not trust at all. And James Harden is not the James Harden that we saw in Houston or OKC. So if Philly is to get to the conference finals, they're going to have big games out of Embiid. And therefore, his stats are only going to get gaudy and gaudier. Like, because he's going to have to really carry that torch, literally, because Harden can't guard a soul. I mean, you talk about Russ not being able to guard. Kyrie made it personal on Saturday, and he's like, yeah, this guy can't guard me. I'm going against this guy in practice. I already know what it is. Come here. Let me just give you buckets all night. And you're seeing other teams do the same thing. Like, you're seeing guys, like Adrian said, you're seeing second B celebrity point guards say, oh, Harden's guarding me? My eyes are getting big. You know what I mean? Like, he's not putting any fear on defense in anybody. And you know, if you're Doc Rivers, you got to ride with the hot hand, meaning you got to give the ball to Embiid. But what happens when you have James Harden without the ball? It's not much different than when you have Russell Westbrook. He's standing there twiddling his thumbs. It's really not much because he's not affecting the game, and that's the problem. And so I think Embiid, for them to get to where they want to get to, will have to have gaudy numbers, and I think he will have gaudy numbers. He's had them all season, so I still trust that. And so with everything that he's went through and being in Philly and everything, I would give it to him for sure. I would give it to him. You know, like Joker gets to play freely. He knows Murray's not coming back. There's no speculation. There's no drama. He just gets to play freely. And Embiid is playing and having to answer questions for the organization, for Murray, for Doc Rivers coaching inexcusabilities, Seth Curry. He's having to answer questions for dudes that he has nothing to do with. You know what I mean? He should be allowed to play basketball, but he's not. You know what I mean? So I would give it to him based on that fact that he still performed regardless of all the drama.
I would lean that way too, but I agree with Adrian. I think last night is going to carry some weight in that with Joker, being that he's the defending MVP. He comes out and beats the front runner for it. And like I said, he hasn't had Jamal Murray all year. He hasn't had Michael Porter Jr. for most of the year. I mean, like we were saying the other day, his second best player is probably Aaron Gordon on that team.
Right.
And they're in, I want to say, fifth in the Western Conference and might be able to, get further than that. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting, but I would lean Embiid as well. Embiid has been killing all year. He kills my Bulls every time we play him. He kills everybody. He had that run where he was scoring 40 a game or some wild like that for a wild amount of games. He's efficient. And then again, he does it on both ends where Joker doesn't play no defense. Embiid is an elite defender. So I would give it to Embiid. Adrian, me and Coach Taylor aren't well versed in the MLB, but I know a little bit. I know the season's starting. What's your take on baseball, given that, you almost had you had the season suspended for a second, but what can the MLB do to bring more fanfare to the sport? What can they do to, because I think it's dying a little bit. Like it used, they call it America's pastime, but that's football. Football is clearly overtaking that. And I think basketball is, if it hasn't, is right there where it's definitely more popular than baseball. Now, what can the MLB do to kind of revitalize its image amongst, fans?
Yeah, it's a really good question, and it's funny that you're asking. Well, it's not funny. It's just it's almost sad to the sport that you're asking these questions instead of asking me, hey, what do you think of Matt Olson to the Braves? The star first baseman, adding that player right there for Atlanta. What do you think about Carlos Correa possibly signing a 1-year deal with the Astros, or Seattle acquiring an all-star outfielder, Jesse Winker, and the Reds offloading all this cash? You know why? Because no one cares. No one cares about the sport of baseball anymore. People my age and younger, no one. I can ask them, name me 5 players in baseball right now. People my age and younger, no way they can. And
Right.
even if I ask Padres fans, so like in our backyard, we cover the El Paso Chihuahuas AAA team of the parent club, which is the San Diego Padres. So even the Padres fans, you'll ask them questions. What do you think of Eric Hosmer, Will Myers possibly being dealt this offseason? No clue, no clue at all. And there's a big problem with the following in baseball right now. And NFL is 365. We're talking about it here in March. NBA has become 365. And I'll be honest with you, you ask people, what do you think of the game last night? Not a lot of people watch NBA games, but they follow it. They'll keep in tune with what's going on. They might not tell you that the Lakers got killed yesterday against the Raptors, but they might tell you that LeBron James surpassed 10,000 total assists in his career, because that's a headline they saw on Twitter circulating. And that's where we consume sports nowadays. We consume it on social media. We consume sports on streaming television. So we're watching games on our phones now more than ever. We're not sitting in front of a TV and waiting for 9 innings of a baseball game that could drag on, and you don't see a lot of action. There's and I don't want to knock on soccer too much, because in our backyard, there's a lot of people who love soccer, but there's a reason why soccer has not popularized in America. There's just not a lot of scoring. There's a reason why people love the scoring in the NFL, because it's excitement. It's back and forth, and same in the NBA. I just feel like right now the NBA audience is getting younger, and that's very beneficial for the sport. I think it has a chance to be atop the list of sports, when it's all said and done, like, in 20, 30 years from now. I think NFL will hold a firm grasp on this. The solution to baseball: make games shorter, make the season shorter, make games count. Get away with all these gimmicks that they're trying to implement: the robot umpires, the larger bases, no shift on defense. Those things are just ridiculous right now that baseball is trying to get through. And this work stoppage right here, I think even for the baseball faithful, the diehard fan who watches baseball 365, this irked them in a big way. And I wouldn't be surprised to see baseball's viewership, attendance, whatever it may be, decline in a big way this year.
Yeah, it's like you had the steroid era, where baseball was at its highest. Everybody was watching it, and then it's just like they keep doing stuff like. I think it's weird that they have the problem with the pitchers with the pine tar and stuff like. Because to me, that seems like essence of baseball. It goes back to where they've been doing that for so long, and now you turn your nose up at the stuff like that makes it part of the tradition of baseball. You're ruining it. You're taking that out, and then you have. I don't think the Hall of Fame thing does them any justice either, because you have these guys who vote on the Hall of Fame, and you have guys who are no doubt Hall of Famers. And you say, well, we can't let them in the first time. I just think there's so many little things that within the totality of baseball that fans see that and be like, well, that's stupid. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then it just adds to the whole perception of the sport and the viewership of it. So I just find it really weird, because I'm a Cubs fan, and when the Cubs won, that was like ridiculous, right? And I was on a high for that, but it's like since then it's just like I watch baseball in the playoffs. That's what I watch. And to me, I can actually sit down and watch a playoff baseball game, but I'm not checking for 80 games, 60 games a year. So that's too many games to watch. It's not meaningful. Most of the games aren't meaningful. So I definitely agree they got to shorten the season, but they got to figure something out, because I think they're in the risk of just really, really losing a lot of fans if they didn't. Like you said, a lot of faithful, because I know a lot of really diehard baseball fans that was pissed off over this stuff this offseason.
Real quick, I just want to go off your hypocrisy thing real quick, because I think that's super important and interesting. One of the things they added, just along those lines, one of the things they added to this recent CBA was a way for baseball players to actually capitalize on sports betting websites. I mean, we see it all the time. We see FanDuel, DraftKings. We see all those ads everywhere we watch sports. But now players will get a chance to benefit from it their own. They'll get a chance to, shout them out, shout out DraftKings, play on draft, whatever it may be. But the sport that ostracized Pete Rose, the sport that ostracized Shoeless Joe out of the White Sox for gambling on sports, for gambling on baseball games and stuff like that, now is embracing sports gambling when it comes to its financial terms. So I find that very, very hypocritical right there.
Yeah, exactly. All right. March Madness is here. This has been a big topic of discussion between me and Coach Taylor on numerous fronts. I was raised in Iowa, so I have ties to the Iowa program. And Coach Taylor is where we met. He's got ties to him too. He's a big Keegan Murray fan. I'm a Keegan Murray fan. I have more faith in Keegan Murray than I do the program. I've been seeing a lot of national pundits picking Iowa to go Final Four, Sweet 16, national championship game. And I've watched Iowa for 25 years just underachieve. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with the Hawkeyes, but as an outsider to this conversation, how do you feel about the Iowa Hawkeyes?
Wow, then we've got a problem, guys. We got to change up our brackets because in my bracket that I'm looking at right now, I've got them going into the Final Four. So we got to change something right here. There's something wrong. There's something wrong. I watched them the entire Big Ten tournament. I don't like college basketball or necessarily watching it a lot during the season. I cover it for a living, so it's something I have to watch all the time. And so I don't get a chance to watch as many games as I would like. But now that I get to sit back at home, now that the Miners are getting ready for whatever kind of postseason tournament they're going to be doing, I can watch a lot of college. Yeah, exactly. I can watch a lot of college basketball, and I watched all the Big Ten tournament. I was so confident in picking Iowa all the way through. Every game, they just look so comfortable. Keegan Murray is just awesome. I mean, that guy is a baller. And then beyond that, they've got depth. They got experience. They've got versatility. They look at the bracket on their side in the Midwest. They can beat Richmond, who kind of, barely made the tournament to begin with. I mean, right before that Iowa-Purdue game, you were watching that and how that finished up. I don't even know if Providence gets past South Dakota State, who's won 21 in a row. And then beyond that, you look at Kansas. Sure, that's going to be the game right there. Kansas, Iowa, to see who might come out of this region right here. And then on the other side of the Midwest bracket, who are you worried about? Auburn? Are you worried about Wisconsin? No. I really think that Iowa's poised for this one here. So we might have a problem, guys, because I'm picking it. You all are trending to picking it. I've talked to a lot of people who picked it. We might have a problem, you all.
See, I'm not picking them. I don't think they get to the Sweet 16. That's me as a Scorn fan who's watched them so often underachieve.
I understand.
That's me having been built up. Like I said, the last time they won the Big Ten tournament title in 2006, I want to say they were a 3 seed. They lost in the first round of Northwestern State.
Whew.
The same thing. I watched them last year. They had the best player in college basketball. Again, last year, second round, get smoked by Oregon. Like it's the same thing with these Hawkeye teams, and I have no faith in them. I have faith in Keegan because he's a lottery pick. There's no way around it. He's a lottery pick. And that's what you need. But when it comes to the rest of the guys on that team, I don't have faith in them. And I think they're right for the picking as far as to get knocked off early. No way would I ever put them in the Final Four. And I have more faith in them losing in the first and second round than I do for them to make the Sweet 16.
We should revisit this.
We definitely will revisit this after they make the Sweet 16. We'll definitely revisit this. Nate, I'm just going to say 3 things that we can go on to the next team. Pace, shooting, Keegan Murray. Simple as that. Like, they've got those 3 things that nobody else in the country has. They play at a ridiculous pace. They shoot it at a high clip, and they have a bona fide star, something Iowa has not had since probably Roy Marble. So this isn't your same Hawkeyes. Moving along, please.
Okay. What team do you want to discuss, sir?
As a whole, let's talk about Coach K's farewell, right? Because those kids that he's coaching, like I said, Coach K made a really revolutionized change when he went from systematic basketball, older players, to getting the younger generation trying to keep up with Calipari. It hasn't worked for him. He can't reach today's kid. You saw James Johnson, I believe, last year just quit on him in the middle of the season.
Yeah.
These kids, his last game against Carolina, like, when you go to Duke, like, there's one game on your schedule every year that you got to get up for. All right? And we know who it is. Just let Carolina come in there and just slap them. They go in the ACC tournament, and Virginia Tech just goes crazy on them. You know what I mean? So I really think Coach K loses in the second round. I don't think Coach K even gets to the Sweet 16 because I think the Duke players now don't remember the Coach K of the Christian Laettners and the Bobby Hurley days. And I think now when they go to Duke for the same reason the kids go to Kentucky, to get the hell out of there and go to the NBA. And when there's adversity or too much pressure or it's your fault, you're ruining my legacy, when they start hearing that, they're like, okay, cool, let me go ahead and just hurry and get up out of here and get to the league because that's what I came here for. And I think that's what's happened. I think he's a great coach. Never will take that from him. But I think that he's not able to get through to the type of player that he's recruiting. And I think that when you look at guys like Izzo, who kind of stay away from the one and dones, that you have to be a special coach, man, to get through to the one and done and to get that kid to play for your agenda and not his. And that's all I'm saying about Coach K. He can recruit the kids there, but when they get there, they're not playing for the Duke agenda. They're playing for their draft rights to go up. And now that they're seeing how this thing really goes and how it's your fault, these kids are Bancaro, Roach, the rest of them, they're ready to get the season over with, drop out of school, and go train with their NBA agent and trainer and prepare for the draft. As simple as that. They're gone.
Have you guys ever visited Duke? Just out of curiosity.
No,
I have not.
I would want to get out of there too. It's Hogwarts. It's like you're literally like UNC, beautiful campus, 20 minutes down the street. It's like seriously, it's like from my house to the Starbucks. It's super close by when you're talking Duke, North Carolina. But when you're there, you understand why people want to get the hell out of there.
You see what I mean?
Everybody has to live on campus. It's like the weirdest place. Well, all right, I'm steering away from the conversation, but Coach K's farewell tour has been so about him and not about the actual team, not about the players. And that's the biggest thing about this. And look, I'm coming at this with the full, and this sounds so contradictory to what I'm going to say, but with the full respect of Coach K, what he's done for the sport of college basketball, how he's been able to adapt to just recruiting the guys to go into the NBA. Like you're saying, challenge Calipari and year after year, just try to produce as much NBA talent as he can. And he's done that. He's been successful at that. But let's be honest. This is about him. The farewell tour was about him. The North Carolina game was about him. The ACC championship in his final year was about him. And when you make things about you, you take the spotlight away from everybody else. It's kind of like you put the LeBron pressure on all the other kids out there, and they feel like, oh man, I've got to perform. I've got to be good in this last tour. Why did he have to have a farewell tour? This is not the NBA. This is not Dwayne Wade where he can go around and be celebrated across the league. Coach K, we knew the end was coming. Why did you have to do this kind of farewell tour? Why couldn't you say it was over by the end for the sake of your players? Because if you're really about your players and if you want to be a player's coach, don't take the spotlight away from everybody else. And I think that's the environment he's created. And I'm with you. If it's Izzo in the second round, if it's maybe Texas Tech in the Sweet 16, bottom line, this will not be a successful farewell tour in Coach K's eyes unless he gets to the Final Four, which I feel is very unrealistic.
I just want to say one thing before you chime in, Big Nate, to piggyback off Adrian. We're talking about 18 and 19-year-olds because that's who he's recruiting now, right? That generation is very sensitive. So the minute that you make it their fault and take the spotlight away from them and they don't have instant gratification, they're mentally checking out on you. And that's what happens. If you got a veteran group, with your John Shires, your Jay Williams, they're going to play their ass off for you because they understand, right? But when you got kids that are 18, 19, they were just in high school a year ago at the prom, and now it's no longer about them. Like the what's the saying, Adrian? When I recruit you, I roll out the red carpet, but then when you get here, I show you who I really am. And they see what's really going on. They're like, oh no, I should have went to Carolina. I should have went to Kentucky. I should have went to Kansas. My boy is doing this on social media. My boy is doing that at Arizona. Like they're getting all this love and praise of Gonzaga. I should have followed Chet Holmgren. So those kids are like, man, screw you, man. You lied to me, right? And this generation is very sensitive. And when they feel lied or offended or criticized, they use it in a negative way and it blows up in your face. Always. So if he wanted to do a farewell tour, he should have gotten that transfer portal and took 5-6 grad transfers, 5-6 kids that people had written off. You know what I'm saying? But he tried to take the best players in the country at the high school level, which I get. We all want the best for our teams. I get it. But like Adrian said, don't do the farewell tour. At the end of the season, however it ends, just come out and say, you know what? I've had a great run. I appreciate the program. I appreciate the kids. This is it for me. You know what I'm saying? You don't see Tom Brady saying, I'm having a farewell tour. You know what I mean? He just retired and he unretired. But he didn't say this is my last year on paper.
So just so I make sure I'm understanding both of y'all right, y'all both have more faith in the Iowa
Hawkeyes than I do. 100%. 100%. Are you with me on that, Adrian? Are you with me on that?
Oh man, now that you say that out loud, yeah, I'm not gonna bet on this Duke team. I'm staying away from this Duke team the entire tournament.
Where Iowa has 1 first rounder, Duke has 4.
Understood.
So regardless of which I agree with y'all with the whole Coach K and his approach to this season and everything, but in the tournament, it's about horses. And Duke has horses. He's got 4 first rounders. So when you make your argument about Keegan Murray, I can say Paolo Banchero and Adrian Griffin and Wendell Moore and all these other cats that they have on that team, where if I got to put my money on a team and I see Wendell Moore and I got Jordan Bohannon, okay, we know where I'm going. I'm going the whole side with Duke. So I've never heard in the context of March Madness where the consensus people I'm talking to have more faith in my Iowa Hawkeyes than the Duke Blue Devils. Times have changed.
Times have changed. And Jordan Bohannon has been in college forever. So he'll run through a wall for Fred McCaffrey. He's been there forever. So he'll run through a wall for his coach.
He's played
the Duke players are ready to go.
Basketball than anybody in the history of college basketball.
Yes. Yeah, year 6.
So I mean, it's unreal to me. But what player do you think has the most to gain from March Madness? I know who I would say, but what player do you think has the most to gain from March Madness?
Oh man, it's a good one. I love. I'm gonna throw a name that's just like way out there, like no one has on their radar probably. 13th seeded Chattanooga, Malachi Smith. I just love this guy. I think that he's a baller. This is a place where he can become nationally recognized. We're always looking for the darlings out of March Madness, and I think Malachi Smith could be one of those guys. I pick a guy from Arizona. Just pick anybody out over with the Wildcats. I would have faith in some of those guys becoming household type names. I just really like what the Wildcats have done all year with Tommy Lloyd. I really like Chet from Gonzaga, of course. He's fantastic, but I think that's kind of a given. I think everybody has him on their radars right there. Just kind of some under the radar type of guys. Those would be at least two directions I would go. Give me an underdog, a sleeper like a Malachi Smith, or give me anybody. Pick whoever on Arizona. I'll take him.
Coach Taylor.
For underdog, I'll give you Tevin Brown from Murray State. For my underdog, Murray State has obviously had great tradition, going back to campaign and getting guys to the league. So I'll go the 6'5" Tevin Brown from Murray State. They're in the tournament. They're doing some good things there. I will also say this. It's funny how everything comes back to Iowa. Chris Murray. If I was going to make that deep run, I only got him going to Sweet 16, but if they're going to go beyond that, I think the other Murray has to show that he's not far off NBA talent and maybe have a Dante DiVincenzo type year where all of a sudden he thought he was coming back, but now he's gone at the bottom of the first round. I think Chris Murray has something. If he shows you, right, that he's a legit 15-5 guy in the tournament, now all of a sudden, if you're an NBA team, you're like, wait a minute, we've never seen twins split up. We've never seen twins of the caliber that Keegan Murray is split up. Even when Blake Griffin went to the league, Taylor Griffin threw his name in the draft. You know what I mean? We've never seen twins. One goes, one stays back. When Marcus left, Marquise went too. So I think that if I was going to make this deep run, and as people are saying, that Chris Murray has to show you he's a legit 15-5 guy and turn some heads. And now maybe NBA GM say, shit, put your name in the draft too. Let's get them both in here right now.
Yeah, that's what I had said. Like I told you, right. That's the player that I say, if I was going to do anything, he has to be the second best player, which is crazy because they bring him off the bench. I don't think they play him enough. I think Fran is married to, like I said, the Bohannons and these other cats, but I think that he can have that, and that's a good one. I know you said Chet, but I think Chet has a lot to gain because I think Chet, if he comes out, can solidify himself as the top pick. I think where a lot of people are seesawing on who they think is the number one prospect. Is it Jabari? Is it Chet? Is it Fialo? You see it all over the place. I think if Chet comes out here and is really, really dominant, there's no reason why he can't solidify himself as that top pick. And like I said, the sleeper that was mine was Chris Murray. I think Chris Murray, if he comes out and like I said, where Keegan's gonna drop his 25 and 9 and 10, if he can come out and do 17 and 5 and big games and have big game, I think he can get himself to that point where he's a late first round guy. And like you said, he comes up because like you said, Brooke and Robin didn't separate. The cats from Nevada recently, Cody and Caleb
Martin,
they didn't separate. The Marquise boys didn't separate. I can't think of any twins that have separated.
Yeah.
When they come out, because they're always a similar talent. And he's already slotted projected as a first round guy next year, just given on the step they project him to take next year. So I think if he can come out and really show that, his skill set is similar to his brothers, somebody would take him in the first round as long as he plays well. Who now another guy that I'll say, and this is my favorite college player is Toshiba. Oscar. So I think if he comes out and just shows everybody on the, because we know what he does night in and night out, but if on this stage when you see them stat lines and he's gonna drop them 20s and he come out and do a couple 20 and 20s, which he's very capable of doing, I would like to see that he can really prepare himself, I think, too, to gain a lot, because he's not talked about a lot in the first round. He's a second round guy that a lot of people think is a second round guy. So I think he come out and do what he does on that stage. I think he could be a first round guy.
Are we missing out on Jaden Ivey? He could be a solidified top 5 pick if he balls out for Purdue this postseason as well.
I'll let Coach Taylor tackle that one, because he's a guy that's mocked often to his Pistons, and we've talked a lot about Ivey. What are your concerns there, Coach Taylor?
My concerns is he's going to go too high based on potential. He does not shoot it at all from the 3-point line at all. Like, he does not shoot at all. And in today's game, I keep saying, you take a kid in that top 5, he needs to put that thing in the hole from deep, because today's NBA game, shooting is a premium. It's not a luxury anymore, right? There's no longer a stretch 5. You have 5 guys on the floor that can shoot the basketball where you're getting blown out night in and night out. That's just simple as it is. And he does not shoot it well. He's all downhill. And he's playing with this team in Purdue that just loves to pound it inside. And it's like, that was 10 years ago, man. And that's why I got Purdue losing. That's why I got Illinois losing. That's why Iowa lost last year. Because you play a smaller Oregon team with a Chris Duarte, and they ran him out the gym because you're asking bigs to play at a rampant pace for 40 minutes, chase guards around, on and off screens. That doesn't work for those huge guys anymore. And so if Ivey truly is the guy, then Matt Painter's got to get out of his way, give him the ball, go more NBA sets. Doesn't mean that he doesn't pass the ball to the big guys, but just let him be the guy for 40 minutes instead of dumping it inside and waiting for the old inside-outside play. That was 10, 15 years ago. Now you step in the league as a guard, you got to guard the Trae Youngs. You got to guard the LaMelo Balls. You got to guard the Steph Currys. Guess what? Chasing those dudes around is going to exhaust you. You know how you get those guys tired? By making shots and making them have to play defense. If they can step off you 10 feet and go underneath every screen, they're going to have energy all night to do what they do. Those are my thoughts on Ivey. He's projected too high for what I think he will be. That's all I'm saying.
Who you got winning right now?
Oh man. I'm going to go with Gonzaga. Let's go Chuck. I'm going to go with Gonzaga.
All right. I don't want to be a homer. I'm going to give you a sleeper team that I think no one's talking about. Texas Tech. I think they have the best half-court defense. They're old and veteran. And let me tell you something. They're old and veteran, but let me tell you what happened. Chris Beard laid a foundation that Mark Adams is obviously able to capitalize on. And they were just in the championship game, 3-4 years ago? So this isn't like something that is completely brand new to the school itself. And I just love their defense in the half court, man. They got big guards. They trap you on ball screens. They turn you over. They're able to get out in the transition with O'Bannon, Bryson Williams down low. I just really love what Mark Adams embodies. He's not a rah-rah guy. He's not a me guy. He just lets those kids loose, and I don't think people are talking about them enough. So they're going to be my sleeper.
I'm going to go with Kentucky, which is ironic because I'm in Kentucky right now. Maybe my man, like I said, Toshiba, and then you got the guard play there with Ty Ty. I think I'll put it this way. I think your champion comes out of the SEC. I think your national champion comes out of the SEC. If it's not Kentucky, I like Tennessee. I think Tennessee is a good team. I don't know. I just have a hunch. So with my first bracket, that I feel like I'd have Kentucky. It definitely ain't Iowa.
I understand that. I just don't trust the guard play of Kentucky. Like, Wheeler's been bad all year with his decision making. Ty Washington being a freshman has been up and down and hurt. And I just don't trust that an 18, 19-year-old all of a sudden turns it on in the biggest moments, you know? And I really like teams that are veteran. I really like teams that are, you know, don't have the this is my first time here. They've been there and they failed, and now they are able to make those adjustments. For college basketball, I like veteran teams. For NBA basketball, obviously, I like youth and like young teams. So you can mold them, but I really just think it's a veteran team. I just don't trust the guard play of Kentucky or Tennessee, for that matter, because they're pretty young at the guard spot, and they're more consistent than Kentucky. But just playing devil's advocate here, I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Is all I'm saying. Gonzaga's been there before, like Adrian said. So you know what I mean?
Fair enough. I don't see Iowa either, but you know.
That's fine. We're not saying that. That's fine. That's fine.
Adrian, we're going to introduce a segment to end it here called Rewrite History. So I want you to take one infamous sports moment in history and rewrite it.
Oh, this is good. This is a good one. Okay, give me a second.
Any pivotal point or moment in sports, reverse the outcome to how you want it to be. What would you choose?
Okay, here we go. This is not one I like, but I love to talk the what if. What if Malcolm Butler never got the interception at the end of that Patriots-Seahawks game? And fast forward all the way to present, when in 2022, or even last offseason, 2021, where rumors started swirling around Russell Wilson wanting to depart from Seattle. And it was kind of this conflict. You kind of felt it. It was this coach's perspective with Pete Carroll, who's been there, versus Russell Wilson, he feels like he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. If he hadn't thrown that pick to Malcolm Butler, how much freedom would he have around this team? How much, leadership in terms of organizational direction would he have with this team? And could he have made a move big enough to choose a coach that he wanted, move on from Pete Carroll, move on from that regime, and stay with Seattle and build a bigger a franchise around him where he gets to dictate things similar to what Tom Brady got a chance to do with Tampa Bay, more of a player-driven model. And I think that's what Russell Wilson wanted with Seattle. I think that he hinted at that after last year's Super Bowl, those comments that he had, how he wanted to be remembered as one of the greats to do it of all time. Well, he's not even close into that conversation right now. He's got one ring under his belt. And now there's that argument that, hey, that Seattle defense may have won them that initial ring. And maybe in that loss, in that Malcolm Butler interception, maybe the Seattle defense points their finger at Russell Wilson saying, hey, you lost us this one. It wasn't us who lost it. You lost it. We did everything that we needed to do. If he hadn't thrown that interception, they just run the ball with beast mode down the middle. If they end up winning that Super Bowl, we're asking the big what if on maybe Pete Carroll moving over to another team instead of Russell Wilson being in the blockbuster trade going over to Denver.
That is really, really good.
To piggyback off that, I'll never understand for the life of me. You know, your quarterback is your leader. Your quarterback is the coach on the floor, on the field. I'm sorry. I'll never still to this day understand why he just didn't audible that play and give it to Marshawn anyway. Even if Marshawn doesn't get in, I think everybody swallows that and says, well, that was the right thing to do. And it's on Marshawn at that point. It's not on him. You know what I mean? And so I don't know why when he heard that play call come in, he didn't go, yeah, okay, cool. And then go into the huddle. Yeah, come on, man. You're here for a reason, Skittles. Let's get it done. Like, I never will understand because every quarterback has to have a defining moment that defines them one way or the other. And that was his to make that audible play. I know you want the damn ball. You're here for this reason, Skittles. Take us home. Because even if he doesn't get in, no one is pointing the finger at Russ. No one is. Even if he doesn't get in, it's solely on Marshawn. Marshawn himself would take the whole blame, but I truly believe that he does get in. That Patriots defense had some serious flaws up front. I do believe that he gets in. He wanted nothing more than to have that moment, because moments now for skilled players are getting shorter and shorter because the season, the league, the rules are all about the quarterback anyway. So if you're a skilled player, you know, the life of a running back is very few and far between for your actual moments. Look at Le'Veon Bell, right? He leaves the Steelers and he never finds any level of success anymore because running backs just don't matter that much. You know what I mean? And so I'll never understand why Russ didn't just take that moment to solidify himself and say, what's the play? Cool. Okay. Yeah. We're going 23 veer up the middle on 2. Break. Let's go. And just go with it. I'll never understand why he didn't do that.
I used to be a conspiracy theorist when it came to that, because I remember at the time, that was when Beast Mode was on that media kick. He was just, I'm just here so I won't get fined.
Yeah.
I remember
Next question.
And Richard Sherman, the same offseason, Richard Sherman saying LOB after, 5 seconds after he beats San Francisco to move forward in the playoffs. So it was not Marshawn, not just him. It was Richard Sherman who was being super outspoken about that Legion of Boom.
And I remember saying, because if you have an argument for if Marshawn carries that touchdown in, he's maybe Super Bowl MVP.
Sure.
You have the Super Bowl MVP, you know what comes with all of that, all of the media, the Disney World and all of that stuff. And how would you like to have somebody when they do the commercial, he says, I'm just here so I don't get fined. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I thought it was like it came from, Roger Goodell, like under no circumstances do you put Beast Mode in a position to win the MVP of the Super Bowl. So that's why they throw that pass. Now, obviously, I don't know if he meant for it to turn out the way it did, but if, that pass is delivered and you got Russell Wilson as the Super Bowl MVP, who better than that guy? You know what I'm saying? So I remember at the time when that happened, that was my thoughts, but that was, I'll still never for the life of me when you had Beast Mode right there. That, to me, that might be the worst call
of all time.
Of all time, yeah.
All time, for sure.
Yeah.
Like of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. Good one.
This is a good game. I like this game. I thought of like 15 in my head, and half of them involved UTEP. So,
Adrian, we appreciate you coming on the show, fella. It was a pleasure. You want to shout out your social medias, anything you got in the
yes,
works,
sir.
anything like that?
Yeah. Of course, just follow me on Twitter at Adrian Broaddus. It's simple, Broaddus, and that's all on Twitter. You can just follow all my stuff there. And Coach Taylor, Big Nate, I really appreciate all the time, and thank you so much for inviting me on the podcast.
Appreciate it, sir. For me, Coach Taylor, and Adrian, we sign out. Appreciate you joining us for another episode of the Real Spill Sports Podcast. Till next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. You guys take care. That was a lot of fun.
Appreciate
yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right, you guys, take care.
Take care.
You too, Adrian.